Okay, I think we're live. Yeah. Cool. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, or whenever you're watching this, for History Chats. As always, we're going to get started here in just a second here. I'm going to start at 12:30. We're just going to leave this, get started a little early. We're just going to kind of hang out for a couple minutes until we get started. So if you're watching this after the fact, just feel free to skip ahead to about 3 or 4 minutes, and that'll get you to the introduction. But for those of you who are joining us live, thanks, and we will get started in just a second. Cool, that seems to be working. This one, okay. While we're waiting, always good to thank our sponsors, Yankee Bookstore, for making it possible for us to do this. So big thanks to them, as well as all of our members here at the Marathon County Historical Society. If you're not already a member and you're interested in supporting local history here, this would be a great opportunity to do that, as well as getting our newsletter and all the other benefits of being a member. So if you're interested in becoming a member, if you're not already, or maybe you're a someone with a that can wants to become a sponsor for the next year of History Chats. So don't think we'll be stopping. Probably continue in 2022. So if you're interested in sponsoring that, feel free to get in touch with us. You can go to our website, marathoncountyhistory.org, which is on the bottom there. Or yeah, you can give us a call or come on in person, because we are now open. Let's see here. Check the volume. Yep.
Testing 1 2. Testing. Testing 1 2. In case you want to know what my voice level is.
Right now I just have this microphone on.
Oh.
But we'll switch over in just a second.
Okay.
But yeah. That's Bob Becker, by the way. We'll be talking to him in a second. Oh, now I have the echo on because I hit the thing. Yeah. Nope. Keep on there. Okay. Well, looks like some people are already joining us. Great. I'm glad some of you have power yet. It's a bit of a storm last night. Thankfully, we have power, so we are able to do this. I wasn't sure what that was going to be like this morning, but yeah. Or maybe you're watching on your phones. I guess that's an option as well if you're got cell service at least. I guess for posterity, if you're watching this way after live, there was a big thunderstorm last night. I think like 30% of the county was up without power at one point last night. So yeah, quite a big one. Hey. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I think it's now 12:30. We're going to get started. Okay. Well, for some reason I can't mute this. I know you can't hear this, but it's going to bother me, so I'm going to exit out. Okay. Yeah. So it's 12:30. We're going to get started here. Today we're doing something a little different in that instead of a straight presentation, we're going to have a conversation with Bob Becker. This is going to be a little bit more of a conversational thing, as I said. So if you do have any questions at any point, comments, whatever, please feel free to put those into the chat or the comment section, and I'll try to keep an eye on that just in case. But yeah, I guess with at this point, I'm gonna bring in Bob here. So Bob is Becker Communications. His company was in operation for long time, yeah, right.
Over 50 years.
Yeah, over 50 years, as well as just taking pictures for other people before that and since. So it's definitely someone who's gotten around and knows how to take a good historical picture. Yeah, today we're talking about I guess maybe we can jump in with this image that you're seeing right now. This is the Clinton Street picture that you put together. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this is and how you came to do this?
This image depicts what Clinton Street looked like in about, as I have labeled here, 1962. But the street, which really doesn't exist anymore because of the uh, upgrade of the street and joining it with Stewart Avenue. But this is what it looked like um, in this time period. And on the left, you see Curtis Millwork. Curtis Millwork was a huge company based out of Clinton, Iowa, and in the late 1800s, they built this plant here in Wausau, and they produced windows, they produced furniture, they produced several different kind of things. In the 1930s, their windows were featured in the Good Housekeeping model home that was built in New York for the World's Fair. Um, Anyways, they were a very successful company for many years, employed over 600 people. Of course, this is before the days of having to leave notification of going out of business, but in 1960 they abruptly closed the factory and putting 600 people out of work overnight. So you can imagine what a blow that was to the employment there, the employees there, and to the city itself. But part of the reason that I wanted to do this piece, and what this really is a combination of an old photograph and then enhanced in many different ways with the vehicles and the people to bring it up to this date of 1962 that I am showing here. But the reason I started to want to do this is because of the other side of the street, and that is because I had been working on a project for Sam's a few years ago, helping them to redecorate their building, both of their pizza locations. And I kind of thought it would be really neat to show people where Sam's actually started in 1958. And so I took that building there, which was really the old Baseman Brothers shoe store building that they had vacated to their business was growing and they had moved to another location. And in 1958, the Perellas came to Wausau quite by accident, as it turned out. They made a wrong turn in Eau Claire and wound up in Wausau instead of going to La Crosse, where they had intended to go. And after staying around town for a couple of days, they decided that this would be where they would set up their pizza shop instead of La Crosse. So we're kind of blessed that they made this mistake of turning east on 29 instead of going onto La Crosse back then.
So when you were putting this together, though, there is, like, I know you came in looking for reference photos because we don't exactly have this particularly the right side, like the Curtis and Yale. It's such a big company. There's a lot of photographs of the facility.
Yes.
But how did you go about because you had to reconstruct the other side, right?
Not necessarily. This photograph was shot by Bob Geisel probably in the late 40s, around 1950 maybe. The right side of the street there, the south side of the street, is we're looking east. Just as another point of reference here as to where this is.
Why don't I can bring up, here's like the Google Maps
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is originally this street, it kind of went straight
Yes.
east-west,
Yes.
and then it had to kind of go down in order to get
Yeah.
over. So we're
Right.
talking about this section right here.
Yes. So if you go back to the photo,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, didn't bring that up. Okay, there we go.
the only thing that is still exists in this entire photo is the landmark building, which is right in the very center. That is the corner of Third and Scott. The old First American Bank there is on the left, and but that's all that exists in this picture today. The Covantage Bank, if you pull back,
Yeah.
uh, the Covantage Bank, or the original, it was the Citizens Bank, but today it's the Covantage Bank, sits about in the middle of this scene. That's the way it looks today. Curtis Millwork, that whole complex was torn down in 1962 to make way for the shopping center, which was originally called Arlen's, and then the strip of stores that was along the river, which at that time were places like the Den Tavern, which was very popular, the National Food Store. I think it was a Red Owl at one time also. And of course, today that's where East Bay is located. So, and when this was all torn down in order to relocate the road and curve it along the railroad tracks onto Stewart Avenue, that's when all the buildings on the right side were also raised. So,
Yeah. So this is an example of one that, because you've gone on to do a number of these sort of reconstructing what the scene would have looked like.
Right.
But you're saying this one was kind of based on a picture that was kind of existed, and you just kind of updated it and made it a little clearer.
Yeah.
Do we want to jump to?
And then colorized it.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of thing too, and added. There's all the people that are in there. The light post in the front, all the color, of course, the Sam sign, the cars.
Yeah, I'm sure you had to do a lot of this.
Yeah, that's
all
all.
This signage
all very meticulously dropped in there. The color.
Yeah.
Lots of hours.
Yeah. Do we want to go to the other?
Yes.
So another one.
Yeah.
Here. So this is
I was gonna maybe go to
the other one?
go to the Mortensen one.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. I think I put that over. Oh. This one?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of do a pan here.
Yeah. This is the corner of First Avenue and Bridge Street, and I put a date of 1955 on it. A lot of these dates are kind of, most of them are in the 50s because I was a kid then, and these are kind of remembrances of what things looked like then.
Yeah.
The Mortensen Lumber Company actually started along the Wisconsin River in the late 1800s, and as they grew, they moved their sawmill operation to this corner. And in about 1940, the mid-40s is when they built this beautiful cottage-style gas station on that corner. It operated for about 20 years, the gas station, until they turned it into a building materials store. They stopped selling gasoline and doing service work and turned it into a retail store for selling their windows and all the other products that they were into at that time. The trestle was over the top of the road, today, those tracks still cross the road, but they're at street level. And of course, it was always quite a sight to see that train going over the top, which is why I put those three little kids there looking up and watching it, which could have been, but easily could have been me back in that time period.
Yeah.
Some once in a while I put myself in these things just for the fun of it, but
Yeah.
if you zoom in close on the truck, that's me driving the truck.
Yeah, I was trying to see. Okay, did he put some? You sent these images ahead of time. All right,
Yeah.
where's Bob?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that with a few just for the fun of it, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is not one that like the one that we just saw on Clinton Street. This is kind of
This
you
is-
reconstructing
this
what
is
you remember.
this
what
is
you can
done
find.
quite a bit differently. This is about there's probably about 50 layers of different elements that are all brought together. Whether it's the tiny little car, the hot rod car that you see below the stop sign there to the right, or the kids and the bicycles and the guy with the dog. Those are all separate pieces
The trees
that are
and, yeah.
that are assembled and carefully put together. The soapbox and the bicycle. So those are what we call another layer. It's a layer of each of these elements.
It's sort of like if you took, the basic image and then you took a layer of clear plastic that just had,
Right.
that's the why we call it a layer. Kind of just put it on top of it so you can build up
Yes.
the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
This there's a bit of a connection here between Curtis millwork and Mortensen, because sometime in the early 1900s, maybe even the late 1800s, one of the key people that was part of Curtis millwork became a partner with the Mortensen family, and they one of the big contracts that they wound up getting that expanded their business tremendously was they were fabricating and selling railroad ties for the whole northern part of Wisconsin during a period that the railroads were expanding as fast as they possibly could. So that was a huge boom for Mortensen, and it really put him on the map as a major lumber company in this part of the world, in this part of central Wisconsin for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Well,
this one other little thing that might
Sure.
that still exists today. Otherwise, there's nothing else in this photograph that does exist. But Marathon Corporation, the paper, the printing packaging company that still exists today, can be seen underneath the bridge there at the very end. That was brand new at the time. That building was built in 1953, 54. And today it's graphic packaging, I believe, that it operates under.
Huh.
So that's an old company in Wausau, but the foundation of that, the beginnings of that, all go back to the Wausau Group and to the paper mills, because this was actually a part of Marathon Corporation of Rothschild, the Marathon Corporation packaging and printing company.
Yeah. Oh, just
There you go.
can use in Street View. That's the building back here.
There you go. Those same. Yeah.
Like a Walgreens and CVS. It's
Right.
this part over here.
Can you move down the street
Yeah.
to the other direction though?
Let's do.
Okay,
the other.
there you go. Well, yeah, I was trying to get to the same point of view as the.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't know if they'll have it exactly.
One
there
more,
we go. Yep.
yeah, there you go,
Oh,
right there.
Too far.
Too far. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
So there's there's basically, or not basically, that's exactly what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
so the only thing left in this one is the graphic packaging little piece of that building you can see underneath the railroad trestle.
Yeah.
And the railroad tracks, as you could see, were still going across the road, on the road.
Yeah. Cool. So we want to go to this one then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a pretty historic part of Wausau. The beginnings of huge expansion of Wausau to the west.
And not one that we have well documented with photographs to
No,
the same extent.
not really.
And
No.
there's not as many people going down, like there's downtown Wausau, here's 3rd Street.
Yeah,
You know, we can't pull it up.
yeah.
So this
But-
one you had to do a little bit more research into actually figuring out what was there.
I did. Although there were still enough photographs, they're not at the angle I need and all that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So it's not just a matter of digitally redrawing it or anything, but sometimes it does become a little bit easier if they're not something you have to totally reconstruct.
Yeah, for sure.
Or redraw.
So where do you want to start here?
Well,
The full image here for a little bit?
the full image.
Yeah, why don't you say where we are here?
Well,
for the
Marathon,
people?
this is the corner of 17th and Stewart Avenue. Marathon Park, you can see on the left side there. At one time, they just had that split rail fence around the park. Today, it's a 12-foot high steel fence. But anyways, 17th Avenue was just a regular 33-foot wide street at one time. And Zell's Tap, some people remember it as Zell and Zell, because there were brothers that were, or a relation that was connected to it, I'm not sure, but it was called Zell and Zell. But by 1959, it was just called Zell's. And it was a very popular bar. Right next to it, Suburban, a lot of old-timers will remember Suburban, the department store, which was very popular. The drugstore was there for many years, but then when they moved, not sure what happened to it, but Suburban expanded and took over both sides of that store. In the early 50s, we trying to nail the date on when 29 actually opened, but the 29 supermarket was kind of marked the beginning of the supermarket age. There were others already, but 29 was extremely popular with people to come there. One of the reasons I think was the uniqueness of their little delivery system for groceries, which was called the Escalade, and it was a tunnel that went underneath the ground, and the groceries came up in that little building right there, and then they would help you load your they would put your groceries in the back of the car. Every little kid that we ever knew would want to peek down through the tunnel and watch from inside the store and see how long you could see your groceries going underneath the ground up to the other side. So that's a lot of great remembrances of going to 29 supermarket.
Yeah. And by every little kid, you mean you, I'm sure, remember doing that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of little detail that I put into these are definitely from those remembrances. You
Yeah.
see the phone booth there. Well, there's certainly no such thing as a phone booth anymore. Although, just for curiosity, if you ever drive down 3rd Avenue in the Clark station that's now closed, if you look to the on the north side of their property, there's a phone phone booth that's still sitting there.
Yeah.
Although it's not a phone booth like that. It's one of those where it's more of a little cocoon type thing that's on a pedestal. But it's
Still can see them in the wild.
still sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The International Harvester dealer was down the street. Um, um, and again, that's me driving that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a
49
familiar person there. Yeah.
And I only thought of that because my parents had that exact same car in the early 1950s.
Yeah.
But then we upgraded from a 49 Nash to a 52 Nash at some point, so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Dave's Bolodome is still there today. It's all expanded way out to the street, and you can see the dome of their building over the top of the 29 supermarket.
Oh yeah.
That's this dome up here is Dave's Bolodome.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of the history there. To reference again to, and for those of you who are very familiar with that corner, you can see how much wider, how much road there is there today, because Walgreens is sitting almost as far back as even a little bit further back than where Suburban is today. Everything else is road.
Yeah,
So
let's see if we can. Might as well see if we can do just get a comparison here. Here we go. So you kind of see quite a bit difference.
oh yeah, it's
Really,
yeah.
So, but then you did a second version of this.
Yeah, I wanted to do the other side of the street, which is another very historical remembrance for many, many people, and that was George Horrocks gas station.
So that's the Texaco here.
Yes. George built this first gas station on family farmland in 1947. There was nothing else on the north side of the road. I suspect that Zell's was already there, but not much else, even on the south side of the road. But he built that gas station in 1947, and it became very popular. Obviously, there's hardly anybody around from the west side and most anywhere in Wausau that didn't know Horrocks gas station and the Horrock family, George Horrock. George's sister and her husband actually ran the Bright Spot drive-in next door, and that was a root beer stand. As we have seen pictures of all those kind of things with 1950s cars around it. Well, that's what it looked like, right?
Yeah.
Just like that. And
then you got Stettin Mutual back there.
Stettin Mutual had built that building, and we're in that building for many, many years until not all that long ago. CTL, which was the restaurant equipment company, those three guys came to town from another state, I believe from Michigan, and they almost did a pinned a tail on the donkey kind of a contest amongst themselves as to where they wanted to go and start a business, and it turned out to be Wausau. And the company still exists today. I think it's under a different name now, but Westside Flora was down the street.
Pointing out there, yeah.
Yeah. So again, this was pretty much put together with memory and bits and pieces. I drew computer drew many of the buildings, the gas station. Cars are a whole different story. They're certainly not drawn.
Probably don't want to do those by scratch.
They're lifted. So But the kids on the bikes are standing by the Coke machine, the bikes and all that sort of thing are all another layer as you put these together. So there's probably 100 layers in this one.
Yeah.
Um, every the guy in the garage there working on the car, um, all of those pieces. But that again, um, today this is pretty much the parking lot of Panera and the location of Panera Bread.
Yeah.
That's where this is.
It's also interesting the I mean it's a great picture with all the stuff that you put in there, but it's also kind of telling just the background of, you don't quite get the sense of the
Right.
expanse that there is.
Yeah.
Actually, you also sent me some aerial pictures
Yeah.
for a little later, but
Yeah.
this kind of gives a sense of, I mean,
Yeah. These,
after the highway went in, right?
right. It's the same year that the bypass opened, 1963. So it's brand new there.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, a lot of people didn't even use it because it was like, whoa. I mean, it was almost like we're so far out in the country here, I don't even know where we're going.
Yeah.
It took a while for it to get as busy as, of course, today. It's hard to imagine that Grand Avenue and right through the center of Wausau, 3rd and Scott, was Highway 51.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but in the background here again, you can see very vaguely, it's not all that clear, but you can see Days Bola Dome and you can see Zell and Zell in the corner and 29.
Zell over here.
Yeah.
29.
The Holiday Inn, which is the motel, I should call it, that was built in 61. And they really anticipated the bypass coming through. If you look to the right, to the left, that's the Mountain Lanes being in the final stages of construction there. That is not even open yet. And 17th Avenue was only blacktopped up to the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, I think we can see that in the other one here.
Yeah.
So
When this photo was taken, they were in the process of beginning to blacktop the rest of the road from the Holiday Inn on to Bridge Street, and you can see Mountain Lanes again in the foreground. But there's nothing else here, nothing else at all.
It's hard to imagine today, but
Yeah.
cool. Did you take this aerial?
No, this is a
No,
little
this
bit
is
before my time. Bob Geisel took this aerial, or probably Joe Karasteschi, who worked for Bob. So
Yeah. And you were saying you can see the wing of the plane kind of cutting it off.
Yeah.
Here. So
Newman High School was built in 1956, and you can see there that was the edge of town too, as far as Bridge Street is concerned, and because just to the west of the school there is the Woods family barn yet. The barn is still there, and it was there for many years after that. That whole hill, all the way to the west to the top, was pretty much known as Woods's Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Well, cool. I think we've covered a little bit of ground here. It's 1 o'clock, so we got about to the end here. Is there anything else you wanted to point out or talk about here before we?
Well, thanks a lot, Ben, for having me. I really enjoy this. The history of this town and from my days of growing up in the 50s is something that I'd like to keep documenting in some of these art pieces I've done. I've done 19 different ones now. Actually, I think I've done 20. But there's no end to the intersections and streets of Wausau that have been completely transformed to where there's nothing in what I'm showing that even exists today. So it makes it a lot of fun to do and show and remind people of not that many years ago in my lifetime that this is what things were like. So.
Awesome. Yeah, and if anyone's interested, we do have a couple of these reconstructions here at the museum. So, if you need another reason to come out and see our see us, then come and check out some of those out. See if you can spot them.
Yeah.
So yeah, before we let you everybody go, I just wanted to let you know this is the end of our favorite pictures for the theme this month. Next month we are into August somehow, and so we're going to be talking about our other park stories. So we have our exhibit that talks about just opened this last week about the county parks history, and so this coming week or coming month, starting next week, we'll be talking about other not county parks. So we're going to start with next week. Gary's going to be talking about Rib Mountain State Park and how that came into being, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff, including at the end of the month, we're going to have a little discussion with the parks exhibit team, just to kind of behind the scenes of how you put together an exhibit and some of the interesting stuff that, you don't get when you just see the exhibit on the side there. So, yeah. Hopefully you will join us. I'll join us for that. Again, starting next week, Gary will be talking about Rib Mountain, which is always a cool story there. So yeah, hopefully you come back. Hopefully everybody's is safe and got power and all that sort of stuff, and have a good rest of the week. And we will see you next.